Hey, it's Mark, and welcome to the Think Differently podcast. It's a weekly show that explores those who are challenging the status quo and how they do their work and choose to live their life. I'm Mark from Chicago, a father of three. I am a creator. I've spent my last 25 years of my career thinking differently. And I've been a public school teacher in Chicago, a nonprofit founder, a marketing and sales leader, an innovation consultant. But the one thing I've always done is to help people think differently and bring their ideas to life through creative, optimistic, and strategic work. And that's what this podcast is all about. Now, this week is different. I don't have a guest this week because I want to share a lesson that came up that is so important. So the lesson is being gracious in victory and humble in defeat. Now, the way that it came back into my life this week is that my oldest son did not get into his dream college. Now, for context, he is the smartest kid I've ever met in my life. He is driven. He is worldly. He is cultured. He is funny. He's an amazing human being. And he has been working for the last 2.5 years to get into this one university. And we got the rejection letter last week. And it was rough, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been because he and I talked ahead of time about being gracious in victory and humble in defeat. Now, let me back up for a minute and tell you why and how I learned this lesson the hard way. As a kid, I was on a wrestling team. Now, you see me on camera if you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, and from here up, I'm okay on camera, but from here down, I look like Homer Simpson. And so that meant as a chubby kid, I weighed more, which meant I always wrestled against the bigger, stronger, more muscular people, which meant I lost a lot. And I got used to losing a lot, which sounds terrible to say, but in hindsight, it was the greatest lesson in my life I've ever learned. So again, for context, if you're on a wrestling team, there are weight classes. And every week on your wrestling team, the people that are in that weight class wrestle against each other all day, every day after school, multiple matches. And at the end of the week, whoever wins the most matches is the person that will represent your school when you fight other schools during a meet. Now, this means that on an average 5-day school week, I probably wrestled, 60, 70, 80 matches, and I lost a majority of them. There were little wins here and there. Sure, I might take somebody down, I might reverse them, I might even get a little pin here or there, but by and large, I was getting beat up a lot and I was losing a lot. And when the time came for the meets, it's even worse because you're standing in a gym, you're in front of all these people, and it's you and another dude, and you have worked tirelessly, you've cut weight, you've hit the weights, you've worked so hard drilling and practicing, and at the end of the day, the referee is going to do one of two things. He's either going to raise your hand and say, this guy won, or they're going to raise the other guy's hand and say, this guy won, and this guy is a loser. That happened a lot of times in my life. And it was hard going through it. I was working my hardest. I was working so hard to be the best wrestler I could to win a match. But I lost a lot. But what it taught me was that when you lose, sometimes there's a lesson in there. And the lesson here is to be gracious in victory and humble in defeat. Nobody wants to see a winner that is jumping up and down, doing backflips, celebrating to the world how great they are. Instead, when you win, you should act like you were expecting to win. You should act with gratitude, with graciousness. You should act with compassion for the person that you just beat. And on the flip side, when you lose, you should act and be humble in defeat. You should say thank you to your opponent. You should recognize that you did a lot of hard work. You grueled it out, man. It's a grind to try to work, but sometimes things just don't work out. And so I spoke with my son about this ahead of time. I said, son, you were never on a wrestling team. We didn't push a lot of athletics on him earlier in life. And so he didn't have the benefit of losing or winning week in and week out every week in high school. Instead, he's been working towards this one massive goal for 2 years, and it didn't turn out the way he wanted. And we just had to prepare him as parents to say, hey, we need to prepare for getting the news that is either going to be good news or not so good news. And if it's good news, how are we going to react? What is it going to look like? What is it going to sound like? What is it going to smell like and feel like? And if we don't get the news we want, same thing. What are you going to do? Are you going to throw the laptop across the room and curse? Are you now going to be like, oh, that university sucks and I never wanted to be there anyway? No, you need to be humble in defeat. We need to accept it and be humble and be gracious and say, you know what? I gave it 110%. I did everything that I could to the best of my ability, and I gave it my best shot. And just because I didn't get the outcome I wanted doesn't mean I'm a failure. It just means I failed at this task. And there's a million other tasks and challenges that are going to come at you in your life. And so whoever is seeing this on YouTube or LinkedIn, or if you're listening to it on your phone or in your car, I hope that you can recognize in your life, where are you winning, where are you losing, and how are you handling it? Be gracious in victory and humble in defeat. I'm Mark from Chicago. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Think Differently podcast. If you're on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button so we can amplify these positive messages to people all across the world. If you see this on LinkedIn, do me a favor, give it a like, drop me a comment. Let me know, what do you think? Where are you winning? Where are you losing in your life? And how are you handling it? Because again, the lesson is to be gracious in victory and humble in defeat. Thanks for listening. See you next week.